these 2 boxes of Rallyman are jam-packed with possibilities, and it's my intention to highlight all of the interesting things you can do with them. This is Shakedown. In today's Shakedown, we're going to expand upon the rallycross knowledge we've learned from our previous ice race by introducing ourselves to the Joker lap. You can pretty much race anywhere. A local car park isn't the best of locations, but if you're local to Las Vegas, you may have seen plenty of motorsports make use of the asphalt expanses behind the casinos, as the Global Rallycross Championship did in the early 2010s. Today we're at the Las Vegas Convention Center as its car park plays host to a proper rallycross circuit that demonstrates the concept of a Joker lap. I say proper, you don't have to have a Joker lap on a rallycross circuit, but these days the vast majority do. A Joker lap is an alternate route through the course that is generally longer than the standard lap, but in many cases, as is the case today, it can turn out to be the shorter lap. It begins at the green Joker gate and finishes under the red, and each race you must take the Joker lap once and only once. Failure to do so results in your disqualification, so it's important to know when the best time to take the Joker is, and we'll discuss some strategy about that during the race itself. As there are 2 types of lap to take, the standard and the Joker, we will of course have a 2-lap race, so no early celebrations if we manage to make our way to the front. If your track is short enough, you can add more laps to vary up the strategy a little more, but I'll leave that for you to discover. This course makes use of content from the Copilot expansion, but you can make a version of the track without the bridge and chicane tokens, and doing so might end up being more authentic, as the original course had a gap jump rather than a bridge. How you choose to interpret that in Rallyman I leave to you. The cars are all on their rallycross dashboards. Their boost dice shows off the ridiculous acceleration rallycross cars have, and their damage table shows just how easy it is to break bits and pieces off over the course of even a short race. Our circuit has a few gravel tiles for us to drive over, but the RX dashboards do not care for this at all. The races are so quick and the cars so capable that surface types aren't a factor like they are in rallying. We do have to worry about the weather though, so let's hope it doesn't change in our race. If it does, it'll only change the once, as there are no back and forth changes like there may have been in Rallyman GT, but there are no pit stops to switch between dry and wet tyres, so whatever we choose is whatever we're racing in. We're up against 3 NPCs today, and just like the ice race, I encourage you to change as few variables as you can while learning something. As we're learning about Joker laps, I don't want to be distracted by wondering how many dice the NPCs are re-rolling, so they're all set to difficulty 5 and will re-roll nothing. This is a rallycross event, so they will once again be free to push and shove in an attempt to win, which of course means that the full contact rules will be in use. And with the dirt sections of the track, we're going to have more control over how we defend against incoming lunges by making use of slide spaces to dictate the pace of the race, assuming we're in the lead of course. Knowing when to use those spaces and when not to will come with practice, as will knowing when to take the Joker lap, which is our main aim of this race, as fun as all the pushing is. So let's close this car park to pedestrians and see what we can learn. Our luck is not in already as we start at the back of the grid in Las Vegas. We're going to see what unfolds ahead of us and learn from it as the orange car kicks us off, doesn't lose control, has all of its dice to work with and puts itself in 5th gear, takes the inside line to retain turn order. Next up is the blue car. They're going to want to match that move, and with those dice they have done so. No loss of control, nothing to worry about. They can place everything they need to place. The red car is hoping to do exactly the same, and they can. However, we'll lay these dice out to show. Once they get to this space, you would think that they'd be able to place the gear 5 die in the middle of the cars ahead in order to make use of the push through rule, but because they are not in a higher gear than the orange and the blue car, they can't do that. Seeing as they've laid their dice out behind blue, they're going to push the blue car forward 1 space, and that will put them into 5th gear behind them. Last up is us, and we are going to play it safe. Because we are a row back, we won't be pushing anybody. I'm going to roll those flat out, try and get some focus for the rest of the race, and we'll see if my luck is starting to turn. Just the one hazard on gear 5. We have successfully made it to the back of the pack. Next round, we have a new leader in the blue car. Blue car has not lost control. It doesn't want to go over the jump in 5th. That would be automatic loss of control. So it will go over in 4th, and that will put it into this space. It's going to drop down to 3rd. Then it can actually, instead, if it breaks down to 2nd, then goes up to 3rd, and then coasts through, it can boost all the way up to 5th gear at the little chicane at the head of the pack. Next up is the orange car. The orange car has lost control, a hazard on 2, 3, 4 and 5. It will unexpectedly lose control. It's probably going to want to do much the same, but with its dice, it can't really make use of that jump. So if it breaks down to 3rd gear to have 2 hazards on the turn, that would have been placed there. You double the hazards for the NPCs. They can then coast into the corner. A green flag, no damage whatsoever, but it does leave a problem for the rest of us. The red car has a decision to make. They want to end their turn in high gear if they can to defend from us, but they also want to slow down enough so that they don't collide into the back of the orange car to draw too much damage. How are they going to go about that? If they coast and then break down to 3rd for the jump, they can then coast again and break down to 1st gear in order to try to push the orange car out of the corner. The orange car goes forward 1 space into a space of its choice. It might as well keep the inside. And we draw damage for each car. The red car is going to get a green flag. The orange car is getting -1 gear. So it finally takes damage from its accident as someone behind it smashes into the back of him. Next up then is the opportunity to overtake and then go into 2nd. And what they can do from there is boost up to gear 4 and unfortunately not be able to place gear 5 as that is another hazard. What can we do in response? We are further back than these other cars, so we want to take the jump in 4th to try and get some distance. We also want to end in 5th to try and get the jump on the red car. If we come down to 2nd, coast around up to gear 3 and then boost into 5th gear, I think that would be the best course of action. I am going to roll 1 by 1. We have 8 focus to spend. If this 4 rolls a hazard, we crash at the jump. It was good. Probably should have paid for that one. Breaking down to gear 2 is a hazard on the brakes. Coast die is good. The 3 is good. And I'm not going to risk the boost up into 5th. I'm going to pay for those 2 dice and put myself into 2nd place at the end of the 2nd turn. Next round, the blue car starts things off. They have not lost control. They are going to coast into the corner, drop to 3rd to go around the outside. They can continue that coast. In fact, they can then break down to 1st and go into 2nd. Now I'll put them in 2nd on this space to highlight the decision that it has to make. If you're in 1st, you'll probably want to go on to whichever lap is shorter. Remember that you can measure that by both physical distance, as in counting spaces, or by the time it would take you to navigate the route, as in which gears you'll be able to end your turns in. Your goal is to maintain your lead, not only in distance from the cars behind, but in turn order. So as this Joker lap is shorter, it would make sense for the blue to maintain its lead by going on the shorter Joker lap and then doing the standard lap when it hopefully has a lot of distance between it and second place. So with that in mind, they're going to go up to fourth gear here and into fifth under the bridge as they end here in gear 5. We can only hope of doing something that good. We are a couple of spaces behind, however, so we are not going to get there. If we drop to third before the corner, we can break down to first and come out in second and boost up to 4 here. Now we have a coast die and a gear 5 die, so it is possible for us to come alongside the blue car like this. And if you're that close to the leader at this point, then it makes sense to follow them. It doesn't matter which lap they go on. If you think you can overtake them as you would in any other kind of race, then follow them. If you're a couple of spaces back, or you think it would be tricky to overtake them, then you might want to think about changing to the alternate lap, getting your head down and focus towards some strong, clean turns. What I'm thinking is rolling these one by one, seeing how far we get. Let's see how we go. There is a clean coast die and another one. A hazard on the 3, but I am going to break down to first gear. That was fine. Into second, that was fine. We can risk going up to 4. That was another hazard on the boost die, but I do have enough focus to pay for those final 2 dice. So I am going to follow the leader on their strategy, and that will see us go into the Joker lap under the bridge as we fight for the lead. What can the red car do? The red car has not lost control. Lots of dice to work with. They are coasting into the corner. They can then break down to second gear. They can drop to first and then boost up to gear 3. Now they are in third on the track, and this means you have a similar choice to second place in that if you think you're close enough or skilled enough for some overtakes, you can follow those ahead, but if you've got 2 cars ahead of you, you're probably better to let them fight amongst themselves while you take the alternate lap. This allows you to focus entirely on putting in a good set of turns, trying to maximize the distance and speed on the longer lap without having to deal with any other car and compromise the turn to defend or attack. If the cars ahead of you have gone on to different laps, you're probably better to take the shorter lap and use it to try and get ahead of the car in second place. Perhaps they think that overtaking the leader wasn't possible, so use this opportunity to close the gap to the cars in front and keep the leader in your sights. So they are going to cut this way into 4th gear and end in 5th gear like that. We are definitely fighting the blue car, but we might also have to think about what the red car is doing behind. What can the orange car do to try and keep up? They have not lost control, but I think they might be too far back to tackle the upcoming corner. If they go into second, yeah. So they have 3 coasts to get them there, but not enough coasts to get them through. So they're just going to sit on the corner in 3rd gear. Next round then, and there are 3 cars that are at gear 5, and so we need to find a way to break the tie for turn order. Rallycross turn order is determined by speed, distance, then position, but that can be tricky or time consuming to work out or keep track of in a Rallycross event. So to make it simpler, you might want to make use of lap, as in whoever is on the standard lap, regardless of its length, is considered to go before someone who is on the Joker lap. In this situation, the only car on the standard lap is the red car, so the red car is going to go first. We're going to put the bridge down to give it something to jump over, and we are going to see what it rolls. It has a flawless set of dice, so how does it want to use them? It can Brake down to second gear to take the inside of this corner. That will allow it to come out in third, take the bridge jump in fifth. That will give it an extra space of movement as it ends here. And then it can drop to fourth gear in order to coast and then coast again in the drift space. That will maximize the distance of its move and potentially set itself up for a really good race. We've accidentally taken turn order from the blue car, so we're going to make the most of it by trying to get through this upcoming corner as efficiently as we can. If we went on the outside, we'd be stuck in, let's think, gear 4, potentially gear 5 using drift spaces, right underneath the Joker gate. But I think if we instead go through the inside, boost up to 3, we can then end in 4th. Leaves us open for an overtake, but that is a risk that we will take. I don't have a lot of focus. I don't really want to roll those flat out. The brake was good, the coast wasn't. Neither was first gear. So 2 hazards already. I am going to go into a slide instead and just end in 4th. That would be making use of the improvisation rule, and I'm going to hope for the best because I don't have enough focus to pay for this boost up to 3rd gear, which was good in the end. So I do have enough focus to pay for 4th gear. That will put us through the Joker exit gate. We have hopefully done enough. We can turn our Joker lap token over to say that it is okay. We don't have to worry about that going forward, but we do have to worry about the blue car behind us. What will it do? It will roll a fair few hazards. Can it do what we intended? It could break down to second with 1 hazard, come into first, and then boost up to 3rd. It can then use the sliding space to go into 4th and then go into 5th for an overtake under the exit gate. It will make sure to park on the inside lane going forward. Finally, this round is the orange car that is drifting around the corner. They have lots of dice to work with, and the advice for those at the back of the pack is to just take the longest lap. Unless you're really close and very confident, of course, but focusing on your own race is in your best interests as you want to work your way back into contention with turns that aren't compromised with any racing. If you are still in the thick of things, unlike the orange car here, you'd want to go on to whichever lap has the fewest cars. The clearer route to the back of the pack will be the easier for you to control. Why struggle to overtake 2 cars when you can focus on getting the job done on 1? Now, the orange isn't in direct competition with anyone, so it might as well just focus on its own race, trying to maximize the distance and get into the back of the pack sooner rather than later. So what they are going to do is come into the standard lap and end in 5th gear before the corner. They might not know where they actually end up until another lap has gone by and everyone merges from their different laps. So let's see what happens as we go into the next round. Once again, we've got turn orders to address. The blue and the orange car are both in gear 5. We're going to check for who is on the standard lap, but as the blue car has passed through the Joker exit gate, they are technically on the standard lap, so the blue car will go first, and then the orange car will go second, and then the red and the purple car are also tied in 4th gear this time, We are also both on the standard lap, so we will be going in third and the red car will be going in fourth. So the blue car is not losing control. Hazard's at its high gears though. It needs to brake down to at least third to respect the speed limit. It can then coast through the next speed limit. Now, I don't think it's going to be able to brake down and then boost up, not all the way to fifth. So what it's going to do instead is go into second, boost up to fourth for one hazard, come into fifth for a second hazard. That is as far as it can get. And the orange car is going to try to catch up. It needs to brake down to second would be nice. And it can do that with one hazard. If it goes into third gear, it can then boost up to fifth to make more distance from the jump. It can go like that. What it can then do is drop into fourth gear. It can coast into that space. It can then push the red car further through the corner, and it can do so once more. No damage is dealt because of the same speed, so the red car gets a little bit of a benefit for being pushed through the corner. We have a speed limit to obey in third gear, and I'd like to coast out. We also have a car that needs overtaking, so the only way to do that is to boost into fourth and then come out in fifth and overtake like that. Do I feel like rolling those flat out? For some reason, I'm feeling lucky. We have just the one hazard on a brake die, so we managed to pull that off. We have overtaken the blue car once again. Lovely stuff as the red car gets to complete the round. And they are not losing control, and they have lots of dice to work with as well. Now, they have a speed limit at the end of their run, so hopefully they can get there and obey it from where they are. They can indeed. They can break down to second. They can drop to first. They can boost up to third, obey the various speed limits, and emerge behind blue in fifth gear. Even though it has taken a longer route to get here, it is right on top of the blue car. So do not count out the red car just yet. We are going to hope to take the jump in fourth gear to put us in that space. We can then break down to second in order to come up to third, coast through, and boost up to 5 for a fast finish. I'm going to roll those one by one. I've got focus to pay for things. I am going to pay for that jump to make sure that we land it in that space. The breakdown to 2 is good. The 3 was a hazard. Coast is good, and the next coast is good. I'm going to hope for the best. We have one hazard on the 5, but we have made it all the way through the first few corners into this space in fifth gear. Can the blue car behind do anything of that sort? They are not losing control, and they might as well copy it as best they can. So fourth gear jump puts them over here. Brake down to second gear puts them there. Third is their first hazard, and then coast, and then boost into fifth, puts them one space behind us. Can the red car maintain the distance? They are going to probably get stuck in a corner. They are going to coast that far. They can go into fourth. Let's think. They are going to boost into fifth. Can they do it there? They would have to be in third there, in second there, and then a break down to gear one there. That is only 2 hazards for the turn. They have come alongside the blue car, not yet overtaking them for turn order, but certainly threatening them. Finally, the orange car at the back. They have a gear damage, but they are able to come out of the corner easily enough. They're probably better to end there in fourth to get past the speed limit so they don't have to worry about it on their next turn. We're going to coast and break down to third gear. That will allow us into second, and then we can coast, boost up to 4. We've done our joker, we don't need to go that way, and we can end there in fifth in order to maintain turn order on the inside of that corner. Let's hope that that works out for us. We have focus to pay for dice, but is our luck in? Whoop, as we knock over the joker exit. The coasts are good. Everything is good so far. We could have gone flat out for another load of focus. The blue car can do all sorts. Nothing to worry about on its dice. It's going to break down to third gear. Break down again into first. That's 1 hazard. That is its only hazard, as it comes through in second, boosts up to fourth, and emerges next to us in fifth. So maybe we should have planned a better route and made use of gear 1 ourselves. The red car is next to go, and they are, of course, heading into the joker lap. They were close to losing control, but they haven't done so. They are going to break down to third gear. That's 1 hazard. They can end over here somewhere in second. That is pretty much the best they can do. They have lost, potentially, the distance that they have gained on us, but they are going into the shorter joker lap. The orange car comes across the line for the end of its first lap. That is the most amount of distance that it can get on this turn. As we go into the next round, we want to break down to second, which means coast there. We want to take that jump in fifth because it gets us extra distance. And then, like the orange car, we can coast through in fourth in order to maintain our speed and block the circuit for the blue car behind us. Can we get through all of those dice? Let's find out. Coast is good. 2 hazards on our brakes. That is not good. I'm going to risk this 3, which is our third hazard. That was not the risk that we should have taken. I probably should have paid for that 3 minus 1 gear, minus 1 coast. What can the blue car do? Crashing would be nice, but it hasn't done so. It is going to break down to second gear. That is 1 hazard. Come out in third. Show us how it's done in fifth. That puts them over here. Into fourth for a second hazard. And they have done what we wanted to do. And they look set for a victory. However, the red car does have something to say about that as it goes on to the joker lap. Now, it is in second gear and it has all the gears to work with, it really wants to take turn order from the blue car, but it won't be able to get through this corner at the same time. So it can end in 5th gear in the sliding space so that it can break down enough to get through 1st gear. Then it might have a problem over here. But that is what we are going to plan for it as we put the bridge back and we see what the orange car can do. It's going to probably end here in 5th. Next round then, and the orange and the red car are both tied at gear 5. In terms of distance, we can clearly argue that the red car is further around the track than the orange car. The orange car is on its standard lap, so I'm going to say that the orange car goes first. And all being well, it may well catch up to the red car. Let's see what it does. With 2 hazards, it's going to break down to 2nd gear. It can then coast through. We're going to move the bridge to see what it does. It has to avoid 3rd gear, so it's going to boost up to gear 4 and then come into 5th gear right behind the red car. So in some sense it caught up, but only as far as watching the red car disappear through the Joker lap. Let's find out what it does on its turn. It has a lot of hazards, not enough to lose control, but it needs to break down to gear 2 and into gear 1 with a hazard. It has to boost into gear 3 with another hazard and coast out, meaning the blue car is on for an overtake. The blue car then is going to not lose control, but a lot of its high gears are hazards. So it has to get out of this corner, and then it wants to be in 4th gear or higher. So it's going to guarantee that, I think, is its best course of action. And to guarantee that is to go into 2nd gear, boost up to 4th with 1 hazard, and emerge 1 space behind the red car. That could have been us had we not crashed on the bridge. So with 1 fewer gear and 1 fewer coast die, what can we do to try and catch up? We can get into 4th gear on the drift space where the red car has just been. Hopefully we can roll these and come into 2nd place. I'm going to roll these flat out because I'm feeling lucky. Just the 1 hazard on gear 3. As we go into the next round, what could be the final round? The blue car is going to not lose control. They are going to overtake the red car. They can... Now, can they cross the line? Let's see. They want to be there. And then they can break down to 2nd gear. Just the 1 hazard for their turn as they overtake the red car and take 1st place around the Las Vegas Convention Center car park. The orange car is in 5th gear and on the Joker lap. It has rolled an awful lot of hazards. Breaking down to 2nd gear is going to be tricky. It can then coast around the outside, then not do anything else. So the orange car fortunately gets caught in the kink. It would be very nice if we could overtake the red car, but with gear damage and coast die damage, I don't think that is possible. The best I can do is emerge in 5th gear at some point, and that is level with the red car. So we are currently on for 3rd place finish. I didn't take my focus for the last flat out roll. So I'm going to take more focus from this one as we give the red car something to look at in its mirrors as it drives off over the finish line. It is not losing control. It's going to coast, 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 3, and it might as well boost 5 as it crosses the line in second place. I would be able to cross the line on the next turn easily enough, and hopefully that has given you an idea of what rallycross looks like in Rallyman. Ultimately, if you do what you've been doing in every other race you've played, as in keep your speed up and move as far as you can each turn, then it doesn't matter too much what lap you opt for first. Each car has to cover the same distance around the circuit, and the winner will be determined by who does that most efficiently. But there is still much more to learn, especially when it comes to tighter races where doing everything possible to defend a lead means sliding and blocking and getting pushed around some more. RX dashboards don't care about what surface you're racing on, but you very much do. A largely asphalt course will drive differently than one with a lot of dirt, and your approach to the race as a whole, and the Joker in particular, may change completely because of it. As ever, the more seat time you get, the more you'll be able to tackle the new challenges that you face out on track, so pick one of the many rallycross circuits available on Board Game Geek, or make your own with whatever Rallyman content you have and get racing. Just don't race around an actual car park.